I'm Olivia Rios, Director of Operations and Programs at the Alley Latino Chamber. Today's topic is sustainability. We always talk about what sustainability is and what it actually means. Our speaker will share the benefits of having a sustainable business. Number two, the environmental impacts of how to reduce energy costs, as well as increase sustainability to be more efficient and profitable. The webinar is for businesses of all sizes who are interested in learning more about sustainability and the benefit and how it benefits your bottom line. But before we start, I'd like to bring Anna Sauceda. Anna, would you like to greet our guests this morning?
Sure. I just would like to welcome all 20 of you that are taking the time of this new week to start with us. It's always exciting to learn something, even if we think that we know, there's always something we can learn about sustainability. Our world is ever changing, and so excited that you're joining us. I'm also really excited to be on this one. So thank you, Olivia. Looking forward to learning something new.
So today you're in for a treat. Our speaker is Andy Yorte, who has worked in the green field since 2022 and is with Southern SoCal Gas. Andy oversaw the commercial, industrial, and third-party energy efficiency programs for SoCal Gas and was a statewide lead working directly with the California Public Utility Commissions on behalf of the California utilities. In 2014, Andy was asked to move over to the supply chain area and develop a supply chain sustainability program and roadmap for both SoCal Gas and SDG&E. So I'd like to, before we start, we'd like to make sure that you mute yourselves, that you are open to learning, silence your phones, and you can ask questions on the chat box, and I will assist in managing those. So lastly, this session is being recorded. And welcome, Andy. We look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you very much, Olivia, and good morning to everyone. Yes, I have been in the greenfield now for 20 plus years, so it's something that I've been working on. I enjoy doing, and I hope what I'm going to bring to you today is something that you're all looking forward to. I do apologize. I had a meeting this morning, and my camera was working just fine, but I just cannot seem to get it to work now. So that's on me as a technological novice. So let's go ahead and move forward. Sustainability, it's a good business move. Why is that? That's a big question. And you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what is a sustainable business? I just want to kind of level set on what it is we're all talking about. Basically, when it comes to sustainability in business, it basically refers to doing business without negatively impacting the environment or the community, society in general. But really, when it comes down to sustainability, when you're looking at in a company, it's really about two areas, mostly environment and mostly also the effects on society. Now, different industry, I know that everyone here is probably in a slightly different industry, all doing different things, but there's different levels of sustainability for different people at various jobs. For instance, if any of you are working with Nike or you're working with IKEA, then you already know what I'm going to show you and you're already doing it. Those are leaders, not just in their industry, but just across the board when it comes to sustainability. They have significant sustainability programs. If you want to work with those utilities, or with those companies, I should say, they expect you to have some sort of sustainability program. It's just a done deal. Without it, you're not going to be able to do any sort of work. The bulk of what I'm going to be talking about today is more what sustainability looks like in California, what it is we're doing for businesses in the US, both at the Fed level and the California level. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, with everything else in domestic counter today, why should sustainability be something to invest time and energy in? So let's kind of get down to like who thinks there's sustainability is beneficial. First of all, there's Forbes magazine. And if you can click it one more time for me, Carlos. In fact, Forbes thinks it's so important that in 2 days, they're actually having sustainability leadership summit in New York. It's too late to register, obviously, to get there to do it in person, but there is video available of what they're doing. There's going to be a lot of industry leaders there talking about sustainability, what it is, how it helps them, how they started programs, what it is you need to do. So you can just Google that, the sustainability forum. I know you can still do it virtually because I just checked it yesterday. And as of yesterday, you could still log in and go ahead and register for it. So that's one of the things that you can always do. In fact, I can always send out, Carlos, the kind of the link if you like to the commerce, the chain, and we can go ahead and see about getting that link sent out to you. And you go to the next slide. So there's other notable institutions, IBM. They've indicated in the past they've seen where sustainability, because everyone hears about sustainability, it's like, well, what is this, like some sort of unrealistic goal? Is there? But more and more, there's targets of government regulation. Even IBM sees that sustainability has now become basically an imperative for their boardroom, and they also look at it as a competitive advantage as they move forward and do business. Then there's Harvard Business School talking about environmental, social, and governance. And I want to stop right there real quick. Because really, when you come to sustainability, there's three pillars. You're going to hear things like planet, people, profits. Same thing as environment, social, and financial or governance. In this case, you may hear the governance. Governance is really more about measuring things, what you're going to do internally, what processes and programs you're going to set up. But just doing sustainable functions, you really hear about either the three Ps or the environmental, social, and financial. Because, of course, profits and running a sustainable business is a big part of what it is we do. And even the Harvard Business School is indicating that there's going to be long-term benefits to having sustainability program. The reason I bring up Forbes, IBM, and Harvard, these are not exactly, say, Greenpeace or the National Resource Defense Company. These are well-known, established either companies or institutions that see a sustainable future is the way we need to go, not only to be competitive in business, but in order to stay in business, especially with some of the things that are coming from government regulations as we move forward. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later. If we can go to the next slide. This is from Ernst Young. So this is from 2021. So last year they had data. They're showing that sustainable companies outperform the industry peers by a variety of these metrics. For instance, we'll look at the gross profit and net profit. I don't think we need to get into earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, these middle two here. But so EY, this is a study that large companies are doing, and they're seeing that sustainable companies are more profitable than their peers, and there's reasons for it. So we can go move to the next slide. One of the big things is protecting your brand. Now, when it comes to your company, a nick to that brand will be costly in many more ways than just financial. By creating a sustainable environment, you're going to be looking at a variety of issues. And in doing so, you're going to start to see any concerns or risks that's going to help mitigate this sort of risk. Like who's creating your product, for instance, that's one way to go. And then, of course, is reputation management. This risk reduction will help your business. It's going to avoid pitfalls. Some of you may be heavy users in social media. And how many of you have seen an event that has blown up in a company? It's lost a reputation. Now, because of our 24-hour media cycle, when something happens and goes wrong, you hear about that right now. But just like in the old days, when you're looking at a newspaper, that's front page news. That's today. Then it gets out there and then it goes viral. But let's say that there's a very good reason for whatever happened. That doesn't show up until much later. And even then, it's white noise now. It's no longer something that really helps you. So the last thing you want to do is have any sort of public relations disaster that can be diverted simply by doing some of these benefits, doing a sustainable plan. So let's move on to the next one. It's a competitive advantage, just like IBM was talking about. Rather than having a company be looked at as a place where you just pick up a paycheck, when you're looking to attract talent, especially as the workforce changes over years, you're going to find that having a sustainability plan or being someone who has a good front facing kind of a green appeal, it's really going to be a lot when you're trying to attract talent. So if you're like in a company's role, and when you're being sustainable, you have a good environmental or social areas, when people are looking for places of employment, a lot of people go there. For instance, I'll just tell you, I'm a little bit older. I have kids that have already graduated from college, and when I talked to them about the gas company, they were like, I don't know, a fossil fuel company. They're looking for green. When I tell them some of the things they do, okay, that was a different story, but I had to tell them. It's just the visual they have. So a lot of people view sustainability as a plus. Growing green, kind of going green shows the world you care about more than just making money. You can use this in advantage to you in your marketing and when you develop your brand identity. You see a lot of companies with some sort of green in their logo, or like a recycling. So there's a way that you can go ahead and use this to market your company. And that's going to be very important when it comes to doing work with, say, I'll just go with the utilities. That's the business I'm working in. Um, in fact, I meet with all the utilities about supply chain sustainability. We talk about the people we work with. We talk about what we're going to do in sustainability. I'm going to show you that a little bit later, but this is something that we're all working towards. So, and sustainability doesn't really detract from your business goals. And infusing your company with a purpose, like we are green. We're looking in certain areas. Doesn't have to be everything, but this is an area we're focused on. You're bringing in a skilled workforce, and it helps drive financial success because they enjoy working for a company that's working in this direction, that's going in this direction. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, it does increase the bottom line. It reduces business costs. There's cost benefits incorporating sustainability in a roadmap as part of your business, short and long-term strategies. I'm going to show some of that to you. As I indicated, you can improve your reputation. It's across a variety of stakeholders. More innovative strategies. When you start looking at sustainability and how you can do business, you start looking at different ways of doing business. And by that, you're looking at, different type of efficiency gains, different ways of doing business. And I'm going to talk a little bit more of that. But when you look at these strategies, you're going to find that there's different things that you do. Customers of all types, large companies, individuals, are more comfortable with a business showing us a strong environmental and social face. You're this particular group here, you completely understand that. But showing that how you're going in a green area really is a tipping point for a lot of customers, especially customers who are willing to spend a little bit more if it shows that it's being green, or they're willing to do things. And of course, all these elements, when they work together to increase the amount of money a sustainable businesses earn. As I showed you with that EY slide print before, it actually turns out to be a much more profitable for businesses that go down a green pathway. And if we go to the next slide, please. So let's talk about the environment impacts and reducing costs. First question is that do you even know what your company's footprint is? That's like, how do you get started? I work with a group. I worked with the California utilities. That includes SMUD, PG&E, Edison, San Diego Gas and Electric. We all work together talking about sustainability, what it is we're doing. So this is something all the utilities are doing. There is something here called the Sustainability Project. We can actually go and you can put in some input. This is kind of high level. It gives you kind of a background of what it is how you measure up against someone in your own area. There's going to be some core questions you would answer that everybody answers, but then you pick your industry. What am I? I'm an engineering firm. I'm a construction firm. I'm a professional services firm. And then you answer some additional questions, and it kind of shows you how you match up to these other companies. Now, the reason I bring this one up is I also work with Sustainable Supply Chain Alliance. It's a nationwide alliance. If you could look it up, it's SSCA. It includes all companies. These are all utilities nationwide. We've got about 30 plus utilities. So we're talking about Arizona, Dukes, DTE in the Midwest. We've got Con Ed. they're all using this type of information. So once you get in there, if you're looking to work with utilities or any other companies that use this, you're automatically in their system. Now, for a lot of companies, again, what is our greenhouse gas footprint? I don't even know. There's actually some free tools out there that you can use to figure out what your environmental impact is. There's an EPA Greenhouse Gas Calculator. That's really a very simplistic, high-level spreadsheet that you can simply fill out. The good thing about that is it starts asking you for data. Simply by knowing what data it is that you need to gather, you start to understand, oh, this is where I need to look. I mean, you may find that, oh, I can get information off my electric bill. I can get information off my gas bill. I can get information based on some of my logistics work that I do, coming and going. And then there's also the greenhouse gas protocol calculator tool. And again, this one is, this is actually going to ask you to download an Excel spreadsheet. So don't worry about that. This one is much more sophisticated. There's a variety of these calculators out there, Department of Energy, but these are the ones that we tend to work with. That alliance that I talked about, we actually do training on that EPA gas calculator. We will do training. You sign up to see some of these trainings. You can go to their website right now and see some of the trainings, and they'll go through like 5 or 6 steps of how to use that calculator, what data you need to get. But this GHG protocol emissions calculator is many more worksheets and a lot more involved. So it depends where you're at, since there's what works for you. You may already be going down the path. So maybe you need something more, a little bit deeper, like the GHG protocol. I'm not really sure where I'm going. Let's go with the Sustainability Project, better known as TSP, or the greenhouse gas calculators. So by knowing this impact, when you come up with some solutions to this, it's going to be a selling point for you as you want to work. If you haven't already been asked, companies are going to be asking you for your greenhouse gas footprint. Basically, do you know what your emissions are? Do you know what your scope 1, scope 2 is? What about your scope 3? You as a business, you're buying materials from other suppliers. That is actually your scope 3. That's where we work with our suppliers. And I'll be asking more about that, showing you more about that later. If at any point anyone has any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to discuss them now. But here's one way that you can go ahead and get a start from the environmental, because that's really the biggest thing that's going on. Most companies right now are trying to figure out their carbon footprint. There's a lot of other areas, but some of the regulations coming down the road is really talking about your carbon footprint. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, now what I did want to talk about, even though we hadn't really talked about it, is some of the social sustainability in business. Now, this one is really the one that's most difficult to quantify. Some of this talks about things such as human rights, fair labor practices, health, safety, and wellness of your employees, diversity, equity, and work-life balance, and also how you work in the communities. That's going to be a big part of what it is you do. So the companies that raise the importance of social sustainability recognize the significance of their relationships with the people in their communities they work with. For instance, the UN Global Compact, it's a social sustainability is looked at as a proactive way of managing and identifying your business impacts on employees, workers, and the community. So social sustainability mitigates risk. I talked about this before. I'm going to kind of circle back to this a few times because this is really important. How many times do we see a CEO that's made a comment or taken some sort of action and it comes back and then it goes viral? So that's really what you want to see about doing. And then also companies that are more transparent about their supply chains have reaped benefits. It shows that like what it is you're doing, what it is you're doing, trying to be more green, finding suppliers that do things a greener way. And if you can go to the next slide, please. So let's talk about reducing costs. Some of these things you may actually already be doing and not even realize that you're doing them. But are you capturing any of these actions? Because actually, if you capture them, you may find that you're already actually saving money. You're not only businesses, but your customers too. For instance, are you a utility customer? Whether you work from home or have a business with a building, there's ways to lower your costs for your facility. All utilities, be it Edison or the gas company or SDG&E in Southern California area, we all have energy efficiency programs. Will help you, will pay for some activities that you're doing to help you reduce your costs. For instance, what if you want to get, say, doing a lighting retrofit for your business, instant water heaters, get low flow or automatic faucets. This is all ways that you can reduce your footprint, but it's also ways that actually helps you reduce costs. And utilities help you pay for this. A lot of you have probably already done this, reducing your paper usage, and you digitize it. There actually are cost reductions that are associated with reduced paper usage in the form of GHG reduction, transportation costs, water usage. So that all goes towards your footprint. Again, you may be doing some of this, but have you ever recognized what the costs may be if you're actually saving by doing this? Do you have a recycling program in your place of business? Recycling helps to reduce the costs of disposal of things. How many permitting fees will you not have to pay? Your trash costs, go down for this. There actually may be a dollar stream for some of the things that you're recycling. I know a lot of the customers, the suppliers that we work with, they separate some of their materials. They can actually sell it back to a third party to get some funds back. Of course, in this day, we've kind of, after COVID came out, a lot of us have done reduced travel in a more sustainable workplace. Can you do like some sort of meetings? Like you're doing a great job here, doing a Zoom meeting, virtual. You're not, you are going to miss some of those meetings, but by doing more of these virtual meetings, again, those can be calculated. How many miles didn't you use? Which is your carbon reduction? So if this is for a business purpose, you can actually calculate this for your company as to what it is. Some of those calculators will actually help you do that. And then, of course, there's innovative strategies. When you get a mindset of sustainability, it produces a new way of thinking. For instance, a more sustainable procurement practice. Surprisingly, a more sustainable procurement process actually helps you reduce costs. You find ways to reduce costs in doing things through your whole supply chain, your value chain. If you're someone who creates material or ships material or brings material from a different supplier, have you looked at ways to reduce the packaging? Do you really need all that bubble wrap that's in someplace? Do you need all that filler that's in a box? If you can work, what we do with this, we work with some of our suppliers now, and if we can find ways to reduce it, we find that per load of material that we receive or we ship, there's GHG reduction costs because we're packing more in a smaller frame where we don't have to have as many truckloads of things going out. Reduce costs if you're using like FedEx. If you can find ways to reduce packaging in more sustainable ways, that's a different way of doing things. And of course, I talked about before, hear me? Yes? Okay.
You got
I
quiet
can.
for a while.
Okay, great. The EPA actually has some funding for sustainable activities. They actually have $30,000 in grants they give for green infrastructure. So if you're looking to do upgrades, say your facility, you can combine a utility rebates with the EPA funding, and you can actually get some of this work done. Like say, I know I'm going to talk about natural gas, but quite honestly, most businesses look to their lighting retrofits, since that's usually their biggest cost. So let's say that you go to Edison, DWP, and you're looking to do a lighting retrofit. The utility will pay you for a good portion of that. And what if you looked into some EPA funding, got another $30,000 to offset that cost? You could actually do a lighting retrofit with little or no cost to you. That actually hits your bottom line. Efficiency gains, it's nothing new. You're all looking for efficiency gains. It's just what we do. Involves deploying resources optimally to achieve business. Same thing when it comes to when you're looking at sustainability. When you're looking at decreasing your carbon emissions, when you're looking to how to reduce it, Many times you're going to find that reducing the carbon emissions coincides with financial reductions. For instance, if you're going to go ahead and do less loads, or if you find ways to reduce some of your carbon footprint, it usually translates into costs, be it logistics costs or be it other types of cost that help reduce your financial costs, so basically increase profits. You're going to be looking at, when you create sustainability, start looking at a different way of doing things. So you're going to create process efficiencies. What's the best way of getting something done? How do we do it now? And how can we do it to be much more process oriented? And how can we make much more efficient? So when you start going down this mindset, you start finding more efficient ways to get things done because you're looking for that. You're optimizing your waste management. You become more, I talked about recyclables, but I talked about looking for ways to reduce waste. Just think about that when the bottom line, if you don't have to pay for any sort of fees, like for instance, for the gas company, we look for ways to optimize our waste because it reduces our costs when it comes to landfill, our permitting costs to reduce things. This could translate into transportation costs. It could reduce, the fuel costs based on less travel. There's a whole lot of things that you can look at when you're doing this, but you have to actually capture some of this information. You're going to be looking to streamline your workflows. Can we do things more efficiently by doing this? That's where the optimizing waste, process efficiencies, and streamline workflows all come in together, because you're looking for ways that you can do things more efficiently. And really, when you come down to it, you kind of boost overall productivity. When you're more focused and you're looking at sustainability, and people are buying into this, your employees, for instance, are buying into, yeah, we're going to be more green. We want to be more socially conscious. We want to be working out in our community more. You're going to get more buy-in from your employees. For instance, the gas company, right now, we do a lot of activities with our companies in the community. We ask our employees to come out and do some things, do walks for various things. And employees are very happy to do this. We do beach cleanups. By doing this, we get teamwork going, and people really buy into this. They bring their families. It's something that we all do. It becomes a sense of community, and we're all moving forward to be more efficient. If we can go to the next page, please. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I talked about meeting with all the utilities. I also talked about meeting with all the national utilities. Every one of us, and if you go to any of the businesses that you work with, any large corporations, you're going to find a sustainability plan very similar to Aspire 2045. Most large companies now, because for a variety of reasons, the right thing to do, but there's also regulations coming, have to have a sustainability plan. Understanding what their plan is going to really give you a business, a foot up when it comes to business. By coming in and saying, I've got a plan, here's what I already do, whether you're a prime business or you're looking to be a sub for a prime. We meet with a lot of our large business customers, and they don't, for the gas companies, a lot of our contractors, they don't have a sustainability program in place. You come in and understand what their sustainability plan is, and you come in with a sustainability plan, you've got an in. Because a lot of the primes who are looking to work with smaller businesses, if you're a smaller business, they may not have this. This fits a need that they have. They can now point to when they're working with other customers. I'm moving to the next page, which should say Aspire 2045, and it has kind of the different scopes. When it comes to your business, these are the different scopes. Scope 1 is going to be your facilities. Scope 2 is going to be how you buy your energy. And scope 3 is going to be all the other stuff, business travel, working with your suppliers. That's why I have this here. This is something that I would actually show to our suppliers in meetings that we have with them. SoCalGas is committed to sustainable elements in all areas of our company. So we're looking to our suppliers who want to work with us. What sustainability features do you have? If there's a request for proposal that's going out, ourselves, all the utilities, most businesses are going to ask you sustainability questions. You're going to score more points if you have some sort of sustainability program, and they're looking at this. More and more, it's becoming a higher percentage of what the RFP overall scoring is. So this is something that they're going to be looking for in the future. Now I'm on the page that says supply chain sustainability. And this is something that, again, I would show things. I'll just go over this really quick, but we're looking to develop a sustainability partnership. Most businesses are going to be looking for a partnership. They're trying to fill their needs as a business. Do you fit their needs because you bring in some sort of sustainability issues or answers, I should say, that help them? Expectations are from all utilities and all industry really in California, with some of the regulations I'm going to show you in just a moment, that you have some sort of sustainability plan in place, that you're doing some of this work. At the very least, that you can go ahead and capture your GHG. Are you able to do that for you? And as I indicated, there's some regulations right around the corner. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. So if you're on the regulation slide, okay. The SEC's already enacted a ruling. The companies are going to report on all three of those scopes I showed you.
Mhm.
And we have a phased rollout as soon as 2024 using 2023 data. Companies, if you're working with any companies that are on any of the boards, the Dow, they're going to be asking for this type of information, specifically your GHG. So if you can come in and say either we have a plan in place or we're developing one, that's going to go a long way, because they're going to have to report on this. It's not a matter of wanting to or not wanting to. But of course, since we work in California, we all know it's not just Fed rules, we also have our California rules. So let's start with California SB 253. It's actually just passed the Assembly and the Senate 2 days ago. It's sitting on Governor Newsom's right now desk, and we're trying to figure out whether or not which way he's going to go with this. Indications in past years was that he was going to sign it. What SB 253 is going to do, it's going to require large companies in California to provide greenhouse gas emissions to the Secretary of State, mandatory in 26 or 27. We're going to be required to report this, including our scope 3s. So if you'd like to work with any large corporation, such as the gas company, we're going to be asking this of you. And if the Governor Newsom signs it, it's not going to be an ask anymore. Now we're going to be saying, where's your information? So that's why some of those calculators I sent you earlier are probably a really good start, so you can see how you can start calculating some of that things, those information. The reason I'm showing all three of these because they're calling it the California Climate Package. We also have SB 261, which is the financial risks. That indicates that certain companies, the gas company would be one of them doing business in California, we're going to have to report any of our climate-related financial risks. If this passes, we'll have to go ahead and report this by 2024. So we're going to have to be looking at our financial risk, and we're going to have to report it. In that same vein, we're going to be asking the people, that's our partners that we work with, what information do you have as far as any sort of financial risks? Then we have California SB 252, which is the Climate Accountability Package. Basically, what that's going to do, it's going to be forbidding any sort of California public utilities, or I should say, any sort of agencies that invest
Mhm.
into basically investing in any over 200 different carbon intensive companies. They're not going to be allowed to do this. They're going to have to diverse their shareholdings by 2031. So the reason I'm bringing this all up is we already have the SEC passed. We're looking for 253. The regulations are coming. So not only will it help you in your business, but it's going to be something that is going to be asked of you in the not too distant future. Getting ahead of the curve is a way that you're going to be able to go ahead and work on this and get things going. On this particular slide, I've indicated my email addresses. You're more than welcome to send any of that information out to me. You have any questions, please just let me know. We discussed it as part of the discussions here. We work with our partners, whether or not they're working with us directly or they want to work with us, or our partners like the LA Latino Chamber of Commerce. You are our partners. If you have any questions from to the organization or from you individually, please let us know. I would ask that you go ahead and CC the LA Chamber so they're aware of what's being asked, so I can answer, maybe then get the information out to everybody. So I want to first of all thank you again. The supplier diversity team and our supply chain sustainability teams, we're here to assist. I know that was a lot of information. I threw a lot at you in any of the areas. When it comes to the profitability, things that you can do, please feel free. I wanted to leave some time here so we can have a Q&A session.
Well, this is Olivia. I'm looking at the chat box and I don't see any questions, but I do have questions myself. So you talked about ways to lower our costs for businesses. What kind, you talked about instant water heaters for a business. You talked about $30,000 grant for infrastructure. How can our small businesses get that information?
You can go to any one of the utilities. If you're in the DWP area, if you are in the Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas Company, we all have energy efficiency programs. If you simply type in energy efficiency in any of those locations, the website information will come right up. You can see what it is that you want to do. And if you're, I know when some really small business may be working out of their home, this works well for residential, especially if you're claiming a percentage of your house as your business.
Okay.
When you see those reductions, you can go ahead and apply that towards some of your tax benefits.
Okay, and then Jeffrey, you want to come on? You have a question?
Yeah, I do. So, sustainability in California, one of the biggest problems we have here is dealing with disasters and the massive amounts of waste and stuff like that that's caused. And also when things go out, SoCal Gas has lots of waste on their own. The pipes and different infrastructure facilities and stuff like that. So maybe you could talk to a little bit about what SoCal Gas's sustainability programs are in disasters like wildfires, which is something we face every year, and is a big problem adding to the climate change and our culture. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to talk about it two ways, because when you think of wildfires, honestly, the biggest issue has always been the electric power lines. But I'm going to talk about SoCal Gas. What we've done is we've made sure that a lot of our pipes, our piping and everything is secured underground, deep enough underground to where, like, say, a fire would not affect. Let's talk about something different that just happened, like the hurricane that just came through. In those instances, that did expose some of our pipe out in Desert Hot Springs because of the flooding. What did we do? Right away, we went out. We pinched off the line if anything was exposed. We went ahead and dug it out. We reformatted it. We worked with all the county and regions to make sure that the pipes are in good shape. So when it comes to disasters, from a gas perspective, we're actually pretty safe. It's very rare that we're seeing anything, even in a wildfire. Now, I can tell you that as I have done work for SDG in the past in the sustainability area, in those areas, they're doing things that have been kind of innovative. For instance, they went away from wood poles and they're all putting up metal poles so that when those don't catch fire, they're securing all the lines. They're making sure that the big concern is if a line comes down, any foliage, they're doing heavy look at the foliage around their power lines. A lot of the work that the gas company does and SDG does, we're doing drones now. We're using drones and we're looking power lines from above at the level of the power line. So we're getting a 360-degree view of what's going on. We work with climate scientists, so we know what we can expect in the next 5 years as we build that into our business strategy. So a lot of looking at what's going on we're actually doing it now. We have a lot of sustainability programs. We're looking at our own personal, when I talk about scope 1, scope 2, we're looking at our facilities, as you indicated. We're upgrading them. We're looking to do a lot more solar. We're also doing a lot more efficiency work at the buildings. We're upgrading, like go to more instantaneous type of water heating. We're going to make sure that they call like a well facility for your employees. What does the building look like? Is it a well business, which means good air quality for your employees? That's part of the social, working out for your workers. We're doing all that right now. So we've got a lot of things going on. And although it says Aspire 2045, we have goals we're going to hit 2025, 2030, 35, all the way up to 2045. So we have goals for ourselves. And one of those is, of course, mitigating any sort of gas leaks. We have an excellent system where we go and check everything. We use thermal. We do use the drones. We run things through the line to check for leaks. We're really done a good job, and we've been commended by the state for the job we've done to mitigate any sort of seepage that would come out. I know, Jeffrey, does that answer your question, or is there some other area you'd like me to speak to?
No, that pretty much answers my question a little bit. I mean, it's always a ongoing issue. You know, I'm a disaster manager with the Red Cross, so we deal with a lot of your organization a lot, and it's a big problem. I had another follow-up question for you, on some of the things you asked. You mentioned your thing. So you mentioned about certifications and all that stuff, and I know that like with so Edison has a program where they assist companies to get the B Corp certification, which is one of the things that we help companies do, and because they have special programs for aligning companies with the coveted B Corp certification that is sometimes very difficult to navigate. Maybe you can. I don't know if SoCalGas has any programs that helps people navigate that deep water. Thank you.
From a strictly sustainability perspective, we do not have that right now. We're expanding our sustainability team. We're growing it. So we do not, I don't know whether or not that's something that the diversity team works with more so than we would. I don't want to put them on the spot, but they may have an answer to that. I personally do not work with that.
This is Anne Mishiri with Supply Diversity SoCalGas. Jeffrey, can you explain maybe for the audience what a B Corp is? Because our Supply Diversity program just mainly wants to ensure that the SoCalGas is working with minority businesses, and the certification for minority businesses is through the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission Supplier Clearinghouse. So can you explain a little bit what you mean by B Corp?
Certainly, and B Corp stands for Benefit Corporation. And when an organization gets a Benefit Corporation certification, it gives them that badge of honor that also enables them to get better points towards grants and other things. It also, when you go for government programs, it gives you a higher level. Like if you're a minority or a woman-owned business, you get more credibility into that. So it helps you with that. It also is a very PR, a good for PR. Most corporations, if you talked about Nike, they have a Benefit Corporation certification, and the Benefit Corporation just states that you have a sustainability program like what our presenter talked about, and it also enables that you are aligning with some of the 17 goals of the UN. The UN has 17 sustainability goals that they put out there, and as long as you align with a certain amount of those goals and you have a program and you do things like give back, like one of the things that we set with companies up is how to set a corporate culture of service where you give back and volunteer as a company. So those are kind of things: how you handle water, how do you handle water in your community, how do you handle poverty, how do you handle sustainable cities. There's a whole, if you just Google the 17 goals of UN, you can see all those goals and how they're aligned and stuff like that. And so companies definitely it's not an easy process, because you have to really not only have that sustainability program like what our presenter talked about, but also have a really ongoing effort to give back and create a better environment. So that's kind of like what it is in a nutshell. It's a very deep and complicated thing to do. It takes a while to get that certification done, but most corporations go after that because it's very sought after.
Right.
I have a question. This is Daryl. So being that bill is at the governor's desk, what does that exactly mean, though? Or is that going to impact us as a small business getting a CPUC or a bond number to work with the utilities? Is this going to impact private sector as well as corporate America? Would be my question. So, are we preparing for this now?
Basically, with that, the bill, the company would have to be making quite a bit of money. We're talking about over $500 million annually. Excuse me. So but they're going to have to report it. That is going to affect, private businesses and other companies, because if you're working, let's say you're working with the gas company, and now I have to report that information, I'm going to be coming to you and saying, what sort of numbers do you have when it comes to greenhouse gas reporting? That's where it's going to affect businesses of all size, small, medium, and even large. I'll be, as a large corporation, so the gas company is going to be required to report this information. So we're going to in turn be asking our partners, what information do you have for us? That's what I'm saying. They're going to be coming to you. The Fed's already going to do it, and now California is going to be doing it additionally. That's the big one, is the one that is the, in my opinion, is that SB, the one that's on the governor's desk right now, because it's going to force a lot of people's hand to do things now.
So what kind of assistance do you have to help small businesses?
Yeah.
So it's not another process like the ISN. We already have to have another third party regulate us for safety, which, we're all into safety, right? But we're thinking, okay, now this is another hurdle that we have to jump through if we want to keep working for the utility. So it sounds, I'm listening to it, and it sounds very complicated to get the sustainability report card.
No, well, that's why I want to indicate that I'm using as a utility and I'm using the gas company, but this particular law is going to basically be for all companies in California over a certain threshold. They're all going to be required. So it's not just utilities. It's going to be all businesses based on the annual earnings, not on any particular sector. But the focus again,
Andy, you kind of went out on the dollar value. I did hear. So what is that threshold? What is the dollar value on that? You say 5 million?
Like 500.
500 million?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we're looking at again, right. Well, now let's say that you were working with a large company that has to report this.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to count you back in, because they're going to come to you. They're going to ask you, okay,
Right.
I have to report this. What numbers do you have? So you wouldn't be responsible for reporting, but so that's where starting to get some of this information understood, what it is you need to do with some of those calculators I talked to you about. That's a good way to get started, because at the very least, by looking at that EPA calculator, which is a very simple spreadsheet, you can start to see what data you need to collect. That's the big thing. That's probably going to take you more time than filling out the spreadsheet, is seeing what data you need to collect so that you know what inputs you have to put in to even get a number.
Okay.
All right. And then we have Carla Silva, and I'll read her message. Great encouraging information. I'm the liaison officer for a cluster of circular economy Dutch companies looking to partner with companies in California to implement technologies and green solutions to reduce emissions. They're looking to create a lighthouse project in LA, starting with creating a harvest resource map. I would like to have the opportunity to share this information and collaborate on a project. So in that case, Carla can contact you directly, correct? Andy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Carla, his information is down below. So we'll connect you both. I did have another question. Partnerships. How can a business find out if they are compatible with SoCalGas's needs?
It really depends on what type of business you have. Usually, you can go to the SoCalGas website. You can indicate in there what type of business you have. Normally, what's going to happen is that information is going to go then to our sourcing portfolios. They're aware of what type of work is coming up. They're aware of what business needs. We're always looking to expand our bench when it comes to supplier. No one wants to have a supplier, a singular supplier in any one area. As Jeffrey talked about, what if there's a disaster and that particular supplier goes down? We'd like to have a lot of bench strength. So just indicating what it is that you do. The information then gets to the different portfolios, and they can go ahead and see what do they have coming up as far as any bids. Then they also take that information and say, hey, would you like to start working with a particular company? Many times, depending the area you're in, and they're not familiar with you, they may give you small projects, or they may say, can you partner up with one of our existing larger companies to do a piece of their work? Kind of let's see how you work. Let's see how you get things done.
Now, I know in the past, and if you can help me out with this question. So I know that in order to do business with SoCal Gas, you have to be a vetted vendor, correct? So, you know, we have the Ariba portal that you need to be part of. And what other measures, and can you help me out, would a company need in order to be viable for any of these projects?
So thank you for that question, Olivia. So the first thing is, if you're here on this call, I'm assuming we're all under the assumption that you're a minority business. So if you're a minority business, for SoCal Gas, we would recommend that you have CPUC certification. That's California Public Utilities Commission supplier clearinghouse certification. You go through the certification process and get certified. And once you have that, then you can go out to our website. You get you can even put my information on this chat, and then they can email me their capability statement. So we do have an internal portal for DBEs that we upload our information. So whenever there's a need for particular type of services, we have the internal folks can either reach out and search through that portal and see if somebody's compatible, especially if they need to work with a minority company. We have a goal this year our goal this year to work with diverse suppliers is 43%. It's a very ambitious goal. And by 2025, our CEO has set a goal of 45% spend with minority suppliers. So we are actively looking for suppliers, especially in pipeline construction, which is one of the areas, our big areas. Any pipeline construction services and auxiliary services are related to pipeline construction. Those are very big for us. Not saying that other areas are not as important, but those are very big areas for us. So once you get that certification, it's because the only way we can meet that goal, the 43%, because we have to report every year to the CPUC our spend with the minority suppliers. You have to have that certification in order for us to count your spend.
Okay, so just to recap real quickly, in order to get these opportunities, you have to be CPUC certified. You need to be certified through the clearinghouse certification. You need to be DBE certified as well, correct?
No, well, if once you're certified, the CPUC uses the supplier clearinghouse to certify minorities. Okay. So I'm sorry if maybe that didn't come out correctly. So the CPUC uses a third party, it's known as the supplier clearinghouse. So they do the certification process. So once you're certified through the CPUC, it means that you're certified as a minority, depending on your ethnic category.
Okay, and then the CPUC certification is free, correct? From what I understand.
The CPUC certification, thank you for bringing that up, is very important. People understand that it's a free certification. When you go to the supplierclearinghouse.com, it will help you. You log in, you create a profile, and then you start the application process. They're very helpful, it's a very informative website, and the staff there is very helpful. They will walk you through the process if you're having problems. And then once you get certified, it's a 3-year certification. You're in a database that's that has a lot of people within California and even outside. A lot of people have access to this website. So
Okay.
it's a win-win for you. All the utilities will access that website to look for minority suppliers also. All the utilities within California.
Okay, and then just someone had texted me and I wrote this down. The B corporation is a business corporation. So when you are filing for status, you make sure that you get the B corporation, right? Jeffrey? Jeffrey, are you still there? Okay, well, we can move on. Okay, all right, and I think that's all the questions I have. If anyone has one last question for Andy or for Anne, you know, this is the time to kind of raise your hand and let us know how we could help you, or we're still in the group session. Okay. Oman, you look like you have a question. Yeah, come on. Unmute yourself.
We are in the waste management business. We own a trash company. We are certified. We have like 3 or 4 certifications. The only thing I'm having problem with is what do we do after we get the certifications? I tried before different, but the big companies usually use big companies to hold their trash.
Mhm.
So for a business like ours, you know, we do about $3 million per year. How do we get into those contracts? Or how do we reach them? Or how do we look for them?
And did you want to maybe assist? You know, the chamber can also do a one-on-one with Oman after this session.
Yeah, I think that would be best because I don't know what kind of is it are you doing waste management, like is it hauling waste from a job site or trash
Yes,
collection?
we haul waste from the job site for construction and
Mm-hmm.
So so is it hazardous or non-hazardous waste?
non-hazardous.
Okay. Have you ever tried to work with any of the big companies as a subcontractor? That's a good way to a segue for you to start off and just get your foot into the business, into some of those big companies.
Yes, I tried a couple of the big ones, you know, like Sanka and you know, the big construction companies, but I don't know, it's very hard to get into it. I send, you know, all the requirements they need, but you know, usually nothing happens.
Hey,
Okay.
Ann, this is Joe Chow. You know, it all depends on the projects. I mean, we have a lot of different projects. Sometimes we unbundle those services. You know, and in addition to that, there's a lot of our contractors that, you know, we use, well, they use service providers to haul away some of the spoils from the projects and things like that. So, I would say, you know, connect with Ann. We can probably get a company like yours in front of some of our contractors or refer you to some of the contractors that prime contractors that we have doing business with us. And then it's project by project, you know, again, you know, it depends on what the project is, how big or how large it is. You know, sometimes we just whatever the need is, you know, it doesn't have to, we don't always go with our large companies or anything like that. It all depends on our primes and the at hand, basically.
So just to add on to what Joe just said, because I did manage the waste, the hazardous and non-hazardous contracts. I would just let you know that they have a 3 to 5 year run for contracts. The RFP might be coming out soon. I will find out for you. Just send me your information, but just know that once they do the selection, it's just because of the requirements and the regulations that are in place because of hazardous, for managing hazardous and non-hazardous waste. SACA Gas is very particular about picking vendors. That doesn't mean that you're not qualified or you might not get the opportunity, but we can connect and have that discussion.
Perfect. I just put my email on the chat.
Okay, and I also put Anne's information on the chat as well, which is AW Maturi, AWMUCHIRI at SoCalGas.com. And then we have one last hand raised up from Marian Lopez. Marian, your question is?
Yeah, just it's kind of a repeat, but what is that website for the CPC cert or the clearinghouse?
I just put it in. It's the supplierclearinghouse.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I think we are at 10 a.m. I'd like to thank our speaker, Andy, and thank you for contributing to the conversation, as well as Joe Chow. We really appreciate your support, not just for the chamber, but helping out our small businesses. And on that note, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Monday, a fulfilling week, a blessed week. And this session is being recorded, so it will be available on demand within the next 48 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.